when she's talking to the therapist about her childhood and how she grew up, it was so like shock. Like it hit me so huge to hear her talk about stories of her childhood and feeling like that's exactly what my childhood was like. And
Mm.
realizing she was just parenting the exact same way she was parented. So my name is Haley. I am a former teacher and now currently still working in education, but also an actor and writer as well.
Like what kind of acting? Like TV, stage,
Yeah.
what?
To commercial and TV film.
Oh, have we seen any
No,
of?
nothing that you'll have seen. I mean, maybe eventually some stuff's like being edited, but nothing like major network wise yet.
Yet, that's
Yeah.
right. Oh, that's exciting. I'm impressed that you are like exploring different types of creativity in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's new for me too. Yes, this is all kind of like in the last couple of years.
So I found you on Instagram. What was more surprising for me was that you were actually sitting with your first generation immigrant mom talking about this issue. So I was intrigued by that, and I really wanted to talk to you and hear from you with what that experience was like.
What kind of started this whole journey was my mom and I came into a conflict where she did not agree with like a life decision I was making. And most people, like my friends, other people, it seemed very obvious, like you should just do what you want. And that was absolutely impossible for me. And for a bit, I tried to do that, and we actually didn't speak for many months. And it created a huge rift between us. And that's when I realized, oh, it's maybe not normal that I feel this level of responsibility and burden to do what
Mm,
my mother thinks that I should do. And it was really, really difficult. Like I didn't get diagnosed or anything, but I think I have the closest thing to depression. Like I was completely numb. I uh, I was in a very dark place. So it made me like question everything about our relationship of, and a lot of resentment of how can she say she's my mother and love me and yet be putting me through this when I'm not doing anything wrong. So working through that, it was honestly like I feel like my life is a before and after of that time period. Um, and I ended up doing what she wanted, but I told her like I feel I will never forgive you. Like I feel so much resent and like you got what you wanted, but I now our the cost is our relationship. Like this is something you need to like you are in the wrong here. And even that was like things I never said to my mom. Like I was pretty really obedient child. Um, so this was the first time I kind of went the opposite of the kind of daughter I'd always been.
yeah.
Um, and she actually, in that time where we're not speaking, she finally suggested, like, well, if I would be open to going to therapy together if, as like, I was her way of trying to say, like, she's sorry.
Mm, mm,
And then I struggled with that for a long time. I was speaking to my own therapist, and I said, why should I go to therapy with her? I already see you. I already see my therapist.
mm,
Why should I have to go again when she is the reason why this is a problem? Um, my therapist she was a Thai American immigrant, but
mm,
English was her second language, and so she was also a little bit older, so she had some mindset commonalities with my mom's generation that was really helpful. And she was very validating and understanding of my feelings, and then but also said, "You are at a place of healing for yourself, and you can either be the path for your mom to also heal, or you can just be right and things just be the way they are." Yeah, do I care more about being right and or do I care about actually finding some kind of healing from this, even if I feel like I have to sacrifice? It was only three, but they really changed our entire life and our entire relationship. Right. But it also was a lot of us having to communicate with each other in a way that we never had.
Tell me a little bit about what your family was like. You said in the beginning, yeah, I thought this was just like every family's like this.
Mhm.
What, like, can you tell us a few things?
Yeah. So my mom was very strict, or both my parents were. Like it's funny, I wrote about this once that I don't actually have very many like happy memories of childhood. Like what sticks with me are like memories of being punished. Like I remember I forgot my, and she's gonna be so mad when I say, she's like, "You make me look like a mean person, and I'm not gonna." I'm like, "Sorry, that's what my brain remembers." A wonderful, lovely, very funny human, and she was very harsh at
Mhm,
times. And so I remember one time in elementary school, I left my backpack on the bus, and I was a very forgetful child. I still am. I'm a
mhm,
forgetful adult too. I'm just very all over the place, and I came home without the backpack. I didn't even know I'd forgotten the backpack. And she comes in. I come in. I'm like, ah, 다녀왔습니다. And then she's like,
mhm.
"Where's your backpack?" And I'm like, right. And then I like run back to the bus is gone. And she like had me stand with my hands over my head for 30 minutes, right, and like screaming at me about how,
Forgetful you
yeah,
are.
stupid can you be? Blah blah blah. You didn't even know it was gone on your back, right? So things like that, where like the punishment was just a lot more severe, perhaps than the crime per se. That was normal to me. And so I grew up just wanting to be very good and wanting to please. Um, and I was a very shy child, partly I think because of I grew up in a, I was one of only a couple of Asian kids. And the things I would get in trouble for, I started to notice like in middle school, like, oh, my friends are doing worse things than me, but their parents are never mad at them. My parents seem to always be mad
Mhm,
at me. Or like they're bringing home C's and it's fine, and I'm bringing home a B and I'm getting in trouble. Um, and I think in high school there was a shift, and that my mom brought this up in therapy. And I didn't realize that a shift had happened, but when I thought back, I was like, oh, yeah, you did start being different around high school. And apparently she had taken some kind of personality test, and she got one result, and then she saw that I got the complete opposite result, and she realized, wow, like Haley's just a completely different person than me, and how hard must it have been for her to be raised under the roof of some, because she's super organized. She is uh doesn't lose track of anything. She's very precise, particular, and I'm, like I said, the opposite. And so she'd always be yelling at me to fix this or fix that, and why does this look like this, and why are you always forgetting everything? And until she realized that's just who I am. And so after that, I didn't even notice in the time, but yeah, I was allowed to go out a lot more. She was less
mhm,
controlling. Yeah, so things did shift around that time, and so I really, we had a good relationship in my mind because she was not doing what she was
mhm.
doing when I was younger.
How about your dad?
Yeah, my dad, my mom runs the house. So my dad, like, there were times where he would kind of assert his authority, but my mom's emotions, even he was scared of her. It's like if my mom is mad, nobody in the house is going to have a good day. Times where we would kind of be allies of like, kind of look, who did it this time, me or you? Would you be relieved if it was the other one she was mad at? He's a very even keeled guy. He was always a lot more patient. Um, but in terms of, and I think they switched. Like he might have been. He's actually my stepdad, but I don't refer to
Mm,
him as my stepdad because they got
mhm,
married when I was super young. It's I've always just seen him as my dad. But there was a time where I kind of resented him because I wondered about my biological dad and felt, you're not my real dad, so why are you telling me what to do, kind of
mhm.
thing. My mom and I's relationship kind of overpowered things, and there were times where that became a conflict because my dad would feel left out because she would make decisions with me, or like we would have agreed to something and he wasn't part of the conversation.
So are you an only child?
Yes, yes.
So it was you and your mom very tight, very close, but at the same
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
she was controlling
yeah.
your life, or
And there
she
was,
tried to anyway.
yeah, and they got married, well, she got married with my dad when I was like 5, so there was a long period
Hmm.
of time where it was just her and I.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like she kind of was all I knew, and she was my like hero. Yeah, and I had no other siblings, so she was all I had.
Mm. Did you learn later on why she was being so protective or overly protective?
Yeah. I mean, through therapy, that was what was most revealing to me and really helped me to understand and forgive her in a sense. Not that I'd ever, it wasn't something that I needed an apology for, right? But when she's talking to the therapist about her childhood and how she grew up, it was so like shock. Like it hit me so huge to hear her talk about stories of her childhood and feeling like that's exactly what my childhood was like, and
Hmm.
realizing she was just parenting the same way she was parented.
I
And
see.
when that connection hit, it became so much easier to understand because, like, you knew no other way. Of course, you were going to be like that as a mother. Like, how would you have known any differently? Um, and just knowing her story and like how the time that she was a single mother and all of that built an understanding for me of, oh, you one, she was already a perfectionist as a child. Like she was the youngest of three, but kind of the a lot of responsibility fell on her, even though she was the
Mhm.
youngest. And she was just like always a perfectionist and always doing everything right. And so even as a parent, she like felt she had to do everything right.
Yeah.
And so that level, like that need to control is why she was the way she was of, well, my daughter's going to have a better life than me. And the only person who can control that happens is me. So I'm going to make that happen. And so viewed through that lens, it was also understanding. It's always fear of what we try when we try to control, right? And so it's fear that all her sacrifices wouldn't mean anything, or fear that my life would be worse than hers. And so when you fear, you try to control the outcome. You know, that just
Uh,
was once I understood that, it was like, okay, it's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that you were able to understand where she was coming from gave you such an enlightenment of course,
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh.
And
Huh.
the apology did come organically anyway, because
Uh-huh.
once she saw the connection and the link and it was so emotional for her too, right? There were so many apologies.
Are you able to share what that was?
It had to do with like my relationships, and I just don't go into too much
Okay.
about it because it involves
Yeah,
somebody.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so just to
Yeah,
respect.
that's fine. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So when your mom was suggesting, okay, well, you talked about therapy, so like I want to try therapy or let's go to therapy together. Did you find the therapist who spoke Korean or how did that work?
Yeah, we used my therapist one because she already knew all of my background. I had already been going to
Mm.
the situation, and so she knew so much. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought the aspect of her being an Asian immigrant would be helpful. My mom was kind of wary of, well, I'm going to have to speak English, like that's going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my therapist also was like, I've worked with people who don't speak English as their first language. Like it can work. Like you can also help translate some things. Um, and she's like, some of those conversations might occur between you two, and I don't necessarily need to know everything.
Okay.
And so yeah, it actually worked out really beautifully than I thought. And the therapist kind of made her feel really comfortable to say, like, if something feels difficult to express in English, like go ahead and just say it in Korean. Um, and so there was a mix happening.
So, but your mom is able to say a little bit of English or some English
Yeah, yeah,
that
no,
she could express herself.
yeah, she speaks English, I think great, but she's definitely much more comfortable in Korean. Mostly she can understand. It's just like more advanced English language that's
I see.
tricky
Okay.
for her
So
to follow.
you weren't there just like translating every single word to your
No, yeah,
therapist.
no, I
She
didn't.
was able to communicate with the
Yeah,
therapist directly
yeah,
and you're there.
yeah.
So was the sessions always the three of you together?
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hmm. What was very helpful, and I posted about this one time, I think, when I was posting about therapy, was the framework that therapists use was imago therapy, which the structure is one person speaks and then the other person, um, before they respond, they repeat back what they heard you say, and then they confirm, like, did I hear you right, or is there something like I got wrong? And then the person who spoke first confirms, like, yes, that's what I was saying, or they say, no, what I was actually saying is whatever. So you confirm that you've received the message accurately. and then
Mhm.
you respond. And that was so eye-opening and something that I started transferring into like dating, like when I was with partners, because you don't realize how much you hear what you want to hear or what you are conditioned to hear. Um, and it actually broke my heart because I would say things about growing up or express like how certain things felt, and then the she would repeat back what she heard, and it would be like I was a bad mom or I right. It's like really negative. I was like, no, I never said that. That's not what I said. And then having to like say it again, and then that was a moment that was really actually super emotional for me because it took like 3 times. Like I said, I think I was saying like, and I felt hurt by that or like something, and she was like, "You're saying that I was a bad mom," and that happened three times. We had to go back and forth for me to correct. No, that's not what I'm saying, and that hurts so much to know that like that was so ingrained in her that she had failed or been a bad mom. Um, that it was like, wow, like I am. She is not hearing it. Like she just believe like that. No matter what I say, all she's hearing is you are bad. You are bad. And that really like cracked me open of like, oh my God, like, and just like built so much empathy for me for her of like wanting her to shed that burden of feeling like she had failed me. Yeah.
Right. Oh my, that breaks my heart because I'm a mom
Yeah.
and I completely understand where she's like why she would hear it that way.
Mhm.
But why do you think that she was hearing it that way?
I think she has, and then she expressed some of this too. That I think everybody is their own biggest critic, right? And so I think her mentality has always been, oh, in spite of me, you did so well. Like despite having such a bad mom, like, wow, I'm so grateful that you turned out okay. Um, and I think she just feels like she never did enough. Like she wasn't, and it goes back to the way that she felt about herself as a child and an adolescent and everything. Um, I just don't know that there would have ever been a world where she would have been like, I did good.
Yeah.
Just like not in her vocabulary or like that's just not something Koreans also if that generation really say to themselves. They're never like patting themselves on the back. It's always like
Yeah.
you should have done more, like you should have done it different or better.
That reminds me of one of your postings talking about how the Korean language is like what did you say? Like a barrier to emotional connection? Yeah, because we're not used to saying, "Oh, good job. I did well.
Yeah.
That was good. Good enough." There's no good enough.
And I
So,
internalized that mentality and
mm,
for up until my 20s too. And like even now I have
mm,
to that's my instinct and I have to
mm,
consciously
mm-hmm.
like reframe that mindset.
Yeah. And I'm sure same for your mom too. No, there's no good enough.
Yeah.
It's never enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a burden that we carry.
Yeah, it's like, man, guys, life could be so much easier.
But it's so hard. It's so hard for us. Yeah. So, so you went through how many sessions with your
It was
therapist?
only 3, which I know a lot of
Only three. Wow.
and I asked if she would go to more
Mm.
by herself, and she was like, ah, she's like, I'm too old. She's like, but I got what I needed to out of that.
Yeah. Wow. I'm really surprised.
Yeah,
Okay.
a
So
lot.
she was able to open up like
Yeah,
instantly. That means because usually it's like first six
exactly,
trying
exactly.
to open
And I
up.
think part of
Yeah.
that was because she felt so guilty and so ashamed of,
Mm,
pushing me through to this decision. Um, that for her, it was like, I can show how sorry I am by like putting myself out there with this and like
yeah.
showing how sincere I am.
Mm. So many of us have such hard, unresolved conflict and like resentment and guilt and shame and love and emotion all at the same time. So it's a hard relationship dynamics, not only for Korean Americans, but everybody, like mom and daughter.
Mhm.
What is it? Like,
Yeah, it
what's
can be
it,
so
right?
sexual and like,
I'm sure there are many out there who wish that this could happen with their
yeah,
relationship.
yeah, my mom needs this, or this is exactly what we need. How do I get my parents to go to it, right?
Exactly.
I didn't realize. how much that would resonate with people.
Share with us, for those of us who are very unfamiliar with what goes on in therapy,
Hmm.
like what are some of the topics that you touched upon
Hmm.
with your mom?
Yeah. A lot of it was just framed as like, let me get to know you for the therapist, right? Like, was tell for my mom, I was like, and he tell me about your childhood. Like, what was it like being you? Um, and then for me too, like, Haley, what was it like growing up in your house? Like, how did it feel for you? And then like asking questions from there. Um, it really is just having somebody to guide you in uncovering realizations about yourself, to help you make connections, um, or at least I think that's what makes a good therapist is someone who's kind of an observer and asks the right questions or gets you to think about things so that you can kind of make those connections for yourself of like, well, like I had this experience. I wonder if that's why I'm this way now, or how might that have impacted me now? And then giving you tools to not just be aware of it, because I think a lot of people end up stopping there of like, I'm aware of the thing, but then now how do you not stay fixed in that mindset of like,
Mm.
of being like, okay, so I know why I'm like this. It's because my mom never gave me compliments. And it's like, okay, so you know that. And so now how can you change the way you think so that that's no longer a wound for you and that you can actually heal your inner child? Because I think people haven't gone to therapy if it sounds so like woo woo and whatever, but it really is every interpersonal conflict or problem can always be traced back to family. And especially teaching, I saw that play out so clearly, right? Like I know the home lives of every one of my students, and I see like there are no bad kids. There's just, I don't want to call it bad parenting because that's a judgment. I don't want to pass judgment. There's no bad kids. There's just harmful ways of that affect children and that creates behaviors um, that I think people are also not aware of. And so, good therapy, I think, gets you aware of those things and then how to set yourself on a different path so that that's not something you're carrying anymore.
Yeah, it's such a hard work and a long-term planning, I think.
Mhm.
People think they go to 2 sessions and they go,
Just,
oh, that didn't help me.
yeah,
No.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah. It's for sure a long journey and process.
hmm So when your mom was feeling like, oh yeah, you're saying what I hear you saying is, I've been a bad mother.
Hmm.
I made mistakes, and so it's affecting you, impacting you in a negative way. What were you feeling when you're hearing that your mom was saying those things?
Yeah, it broke my heart. Like I truly, that's when I think I just like started sobbing because I felt what she must be have been feeling, this like heaviness to be carrying that much shame. And it hurt me so much to know that because I didn't need her to feel that way, to feel better or to, uh, move past it. Like it just hurt me more to know that that was how she was feeling. And again, like that's what made possible that's what invested me on. Like, that might have been the moment because up to that point, I had been like, my arms were crossed, and I was like, I just can't believe I have to be here, like pouting about it. And it was that moment I think where I was like, wow, I am so glad that I am sitting in this seat, and that I can make sure she stops feeling like this because this is like no way for someone to feel. Um, and I just felt it so deeply, like it was mine, like in her saying that it was just like a profound realization.
Wow, that is powerful. What a powerful moment. Huh. Oh, has your mom shared anything similar to that? Like she was, she realized what you were feeling, or how by how you're sharing.
Yeah. Because so I had my own turn of like talking about what it felt like growing up in our house, and yeah, she like there's a lot of crying on her end too. Like I didn't know that that felt like that for you, um, and I think even the memories that I held on to, some of those things were things she didn't even remember, and it was a good reminder of like we never know what someone's going to hold on to, right? There are conversations that I have with friends that were like so profound for me and like changed the way I think about something. And I, a couple years later, will be like, yeah, I still think about that thing you said. Or
Mm,
they're like, what? Huh? What are you talking about? And I'm like, what? That
mm,
was like a life changing moment for me. You don't even remember it. And same with this, where there were like certain core memories of like my mom's harshness that like still stuck with me, and her realizing like how much those things had hurt me, um, was, I think, just as powerful for her and painful for her to understand and realize.
Have you, did you ever have a moment when, you were sharing about something like incident that you remember? Your mom's like, "What? That never happened. I don't remember."
Not
You
in,
know?
I don't think in the sessions, but afterwards,
Yeah.
yes. Because then once we got comfortable, talking about therapy, and
Mm.
I was like, oh, I found out this new thing in therapy, and it's because like you did XYZ, and then she's like, yeah, everything's just my fault. Like what? Like in a joking way, but like what did
Yeah.
I'd call her up and she's like, what did I do now? What did I do wrong now? Right? Um, but
Mm.
no, I don't think there was any time where she was like,
Mm.
like, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I talked to a lot of people, and let's just say, I remember an incident, very negative and traumatic for me, right? And then I shared that with my mom with so much courage. I'm making this up. So much courage that, it took like maybe a few months to think about the scripting. Okay, I'm going to say this, and this is how I'm going to say da da da. And then the response comes, huh? Okay. Like, you're just sensitive.
Yeah.
You're
You want me to do
overthinking.
about that?
Yeah. What would be the best way to respond to something like that? Like, what would we like to hear instead of,
I actually have friends right now who like come to me for advice around that exact thing. Like I brought this thing up with my mom, and she totally, and like non-Koreans, right? Like white friends,
mm-hmm,
of like she totally disregarded and like invalidated
mm-hmm,
how I felt.
mm-hmm,
And it's so hard because then the advice I find myself giving is like there are limits to who our parents can be. And that I also learned that through therapy too with her, of like I'm so proud of my mom for doing what she did. And again, like she didn't go further. And even now, like there are conflicts we still have where sometimes I just have to be like, okay, she's still the same mom. I mean, she's still the same person, right? Like certain things I just have to accept of like this is who she. Some there are elements of like she's too old. She's not going to change certain things. And like and so the advice I gave a friend who had that going on was trying to help her understand. Like I asked her, well, do you know what your mom's like home life was like when she was a kid? And they, she was like, yeah, it was pretty tough, and like, she had like parents, what parent had a drinking problem, et cetera, et cetera. And for me, it's like trying to build, not trying to excuse that behavior, and especially I know my mom is a great example, like a success example, but there are lots of people who had actually abusive childhoods, right? Like, or really harmful things happen, and I don't want it to be misconstrued that like those things should be excused, or like as someone who has had harm done to them, you should like be the bigger person and like forgive no matter
mm-hmm,
what. Like that's not at all. I think that's a different situation, and more so I'm
mm-hmm,
kind of focused on the areas where like maybe it was just like a negative relationship rather than a true
mm-hmm,
like, abusive one. And so for her, sorry, I keep going on other tangents, but I think it's hard because you can't control how they react. And I think there comes a point where you have to set some boundaries for yourself of like, if you've tried a lot of times and that's the reaction you keep getting, it may be time to like set a boundary and say, okay, I don't think that I can talk to my mom about this. And that's really sad and that's really upsetting and unfortunate. But I can either carry resentment for that and wish that she were somebody different who could respond better, or for my own peace I can try to understand why she is that way and why this is so hard for her, and maybe with that understanding can build some empathy around like, okay, I'm not going to get what I need from her. Is there a way I can still find the peace I need, whether through therapy of my own, or like processing it on my own without having the need for that person to directly repair the harm that they did to me, I think is kind of the closest a lot of people might get, which can feel disheartening and like suck. Um, but again, it's at the end of the day of do you want to just keep hoping and wishing that your parent will be somebody that they're not, and also they don't have the tools that we have, right? Like a lot of my like millennials, we're so over therapized, like we have all this language, we're so aware of our feelings, and our parents just don't have those. They didn't have those tools, they don't know how to use them, and to expect the same level of awareness that we have is just really unfair. A lot of our parents, it's just a skill issue, not a will. Like
Yeah.
they want to be the best parent and show you love, but they have no idea how.
That's a great advice. Understanding and finding your own peace
Mhm.
if they're not able to
Yeah.
provide that for you. But what about as a mom? Let's say my daughter comes to me and says how it was very hurtful for her to hear me say X, Y, and Z, 15 years ago, and I don't remember. What would be the best respond from a parent?
I think just one, like probably that will feel hard to hear, obviously. And I think anyone's instinct when they feel like they're being attacked or being told that they did something wrong is to get defensive. Um, but I think in those moments, it's what that person wants is to feel seen and heard. And so even in that moment, if they're not able to apologize or like say, wow, that must have been hard for you, like even just give a moment to process and say, oh, wow, okay, I didn't know that. And if they don't have a response in the moment, saying like, maybe can I have some time to think about that? Or and I think that could feel disappointing too for the person sharing. It's like having an understanding of, okay, I just shared something really difficult.
Mm,
Let me give this person time to process it and react in their own time too, and not have it. It can't always happen on the timeline that I want and need. Yeah, at the basic level is wanting to feel heard, wanting to feel like valued and understood, and like asking like what was the impact of that for you, and like wanting, and I think curiosity is being curious.
curious. But also, I think asking for time to,
Hmm.
I hear you. Can you give me some time to think about this? It's courage too. Because it's, for us parents, we're conditioned to be the right person all the time. Or we choose to be the right person all the time. Yeah, so it's hard being called out for something
Yeah,
that we
and to
have
not
done.
have the
Yeah,
answer in the moment, and I think it takes a level of humility to be like,
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how to respond to this right now, but I
Hmm.
want you to know that I care about what you said, and I want to respond with the amount of thought that it deserves. I think saying even something as simple as that.
I remember I shared something that I've been holding on like for most of my life, and then I laughed because it was just like unbelievable at the moment, and it was something very traumatic for me. And she had this blank look on her face. She's like, "Oh, I didn't know that." I'm like, "That's all you're gonna say? You don't know? Okay, forget about it. Like,
Yeah,
let's just drop it."
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And of course, I had to talk to my therapist about it.
Yeah, yeah. It takes a huge level of understanding to be like, oh my gosh, that's how you're gonna react,
Mm,
right? But yeah, and we might have to take a couple of conversations of like, hey, remember when I shared that thing? And it might be helpful. I think I'm just thinking of it in the moment, but it might be helpful to also share
mm,
what you are hoping to get out of the conversation. Because I think
that's
for
a
a
really
parent
good
reading
point.
it, it can feel like, okay, so what to do with that? What am I supposed? Again, they don't have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
tools, right? They don't know where. If a millennial
Right.
got told that, they'd be like, "Oh wow, like I didn't realize that hurt you like that." Blah 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 blah, right?
Yeah,
For parents, it's like, well, so, and so maybe saying like, "I just wanted you to know that,"
yeah.
or "I wanted you
That's
to,"
such a good point.
and so saying what
Mm,
you expect out of it, or what you hope to get
mm,
out of saying this to them. I think.
mm, mm. That's a great point. That's like right on.
Yeah.
I mean, even in marriage,
Mhm.
even with children,
Mhm.
like any relationship, like really when they don't have the language or the tools to respond or to understand, then give them the tools and the language.
Yeah,
This is what I wish you would say, or this is how I wish you would understand.
yeah, exactly.
Great point.
And I even do that
Great
with my
point.
mom now for like smaller things. Like, well, we would actually
Yeah.
just happened a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Two of my best friends were married, and we've always lived like a few blocks away from each other for the last
Mm-hmm.
2 years. They moved to Jersey, and it was really emotional for me and all of us that they were leaving. And so I was telling my mom about it, and I was like, "I'm so sad. I cried so much." And then she was like, completely ignored that and was like, "So did he find a new job? Like, when did he start work?" And I'm like, "No, no, Mom, what? Mom, I'm saying I cried so much. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
sad." And she said it again, like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, yeah. So where's he?" And I was like, "Mom,
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that I'm really sad right now, and I actually just want to hear you say like, "Ah, 그럴 수 있겠다," like,
Mm-hmm.
and then ask the logistical question. Like they just want to know like the facts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then she was like, "아, 그래, 미안하다. 엄마는 그런 거 할지 몰라서." And she was like, "슬펐겠다." I was like, "So did he find a new job?" And I'm like,
Right.
"This is good enough. Good enough."
Good enough.
And because I felt like if I just hang up like this right now, I'm gonna feel really resentful that like
Mm,
express this thing, and then my mom. So I was like, I'm just say it. Like when I say this, I really just want you to say this. And like
yeah. Yeah.
again, you could get hung up on, well, I want her to say it without me telling her to say it.
Mm,
Just know to say it. It's like again, they don't know how to do that. That's not their instinct.
yeah. Yeah.
There's got to be a little bit of hand holding of like, I wanted to hear this. Can you just say that for me, please?
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. It takes practice because feels awkward, because we're not used to saying that, those
Yeah.
type of things,
And the
or,
time
yeah,
before
making that request.
it didn't go well. I remember it was like she was helping me with an audition, and it was in Korean, and she was critiquing my Korean accent. She was like, "Why are you saying those words like that?" And I was like, and I was nervous, and it was in 10 minutes.
Uh,
I'm trying my best, and you're not
mm,
helping.
mm,
And like
mm.
I started crying. She was like about to yell at me, and then we hung up, and like I called her back, and she, so like it's still a journey.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Have you ever asked your mom, or has she ever shared what the biggest thing that she's learned from going through therapy?
Yeah, there's so many. I think about
Mm,
therapy herself.
mm.
She real learned like because she had the mentality of, oh, if you go to therapy or in Korea, that means like something's wrong with you or like
Yeah, yeah.
um, and she realized, and I think she said this in one of the videos that I posted, but she seeing how it made her think about her life and like the impact that it has now, like she was like, oh wow, like I see how this can be healing. Like, and she also talked, she's my mom's very Christian and goes to church. And for her, it's prayer is kind of the replacement for therapy for a lot of Koreans. And it's like, and she had that mentality too. Like, well, if I had a problem, I would pray to God, and I'd say, God, help me change this thing about me. And then she'd get so frustrated, like, why am I'm praying about it, but I'm still the same way, and I still have the same shortcomings. And she realized, like, oh, there's something beyond prayer that has to be done for certain things for me to change about myself rather than just praying about it. Um, like there's an action on a certain level of like self interrogation and that has to happen. That's really, really painful and difficult to do. And so I think her seeing how they can work kind of side by side together was a
Yes.
big thing she learned.
Yeah. That is a big thing for a lot of Korean Americans,
Mhm.
that faith component.
Yeah.
Uh, but action is faith too.
Yeah.
Doing something. Yeah, seeking help.
And God working
Huh.
through therapy,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely. If you didn't go through those 3 sessions of therapy, what do you think your relationship would be like right now?
Yeah, I think it would be very surface level. I had this perception that our relationship was good. And then after going to therapy made me realize that that was all fake. Like it was good because I presented a certain version of myself to my mom that would get her approval and make her happy. and I knew what things to avoid to that would lead to conflict, and so that created a good relationship. And so I think it would have been more of that, but even worse because I now feel resentment and towards her for what she did. And so it would just be more of the same of like, oh, I did this today. But yeah, yes, I ate, right? Yeah, I think it would just be a very, very surface level relationship.
Mm. If there's no joy in the relationship, only obligation,
Mm,
oh my goodness, how terrible is that?
mm-hmm,
What would you recommend to other families, daughters or moms
mm-hmm,
who are in a situation like this? Like, yeah, maybe we need some help,
mm-hmm,
whether it's talking to the pastor or whatever.
mm-hmm, hmm. Yeah,
How can we start that conversation?
yeah. I think, and my mom actually answered this best. 'Cause I had that question for her in one video, and
Mm,
she was like, because I was like, what would get other parents to go to therapy, do you think? And she was like, no, nobody wants to like have to admit that they were wrong or they did something bad, or like shame, like coming at it from a place of shame is not a good motivator. um and so her take was really, instead of framing it as like these are all the things you did wrong and that's why, so you need to go fix it, it's like, why would anybody want to be like, you're right, I'm gonna come, right? That's not how humans work. um and just like framing it as like a, this means a lot to me, like I would really appreciate it if maybe could we try this thing, and make it less about them personally and more about like the relationship, I think can make it feel less threatening for someone on the receiving end. Or even like framing it as like I'm trying to learn things about myself, and it would be really helpful if like you could be there to, so I could get your perspective and understand some things better. um, could be a way to reframe it as well, so it doesn't feel like we're going to go and you're going to fix all the things that are wrong with you because you you messed me up so bad.
yeah, we don't want to come from the place of shame. We already walk in shame
Yeah.
each day, like your mom said, like I'm such a bad mom. Yeah,
Mhm.
coming from shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have that
Yeah.
part.
I think there's
Yeah.
some Brene Brown talk or something where she talks about
Hmm.
shame is like
Yeah.
not an effective motivator. It's a maybe short term motivator, but like appealing to someone's higher self or like
Mm.
the good in them is what really creates lasting change.
It sounds like you and your mom, your family benefited from therapy. Who would benefit from therapy?
Oh, I think everybody. And I fell into this category too of, I started therapy because I was in crisis, like I was going through a breakup, and like something was wrong, so I went to therapy, which is usually how most people start. You're not like in a great
Right.
place and think, you know what, I want to start seeing a therapist. Um, but I say everybody would benefit from therapy because we all have something to learn about ourselves. Um, we all have some kind of wound or childhood scar that's affecting the way we see the world or show up in a way that maybe we don't need to hold on to. And I think, I mean, everybody will end up in a relationship one day, some kind, and we we all reenact or we recreate kind of the environment that we either grew up in or that's familiar to us. Um, and if everyone built an awareness of how their environment impacted them or their childhood impacted them, and then found a different way to not repeat those same cycles, um, truly the world would be such a better place. And I think about that a lot when I look at my students of if their parents knew how them fighting or like the way that they talk to their kid or all those things is really impacting them, I feel like everybody would want to do better. And there's a Korean show, I don't know if you watched the Kunchok 같은 애새끼.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We actually love watching that when I go home with go see them. We love watching it together. But that is such an illuminating way to understand, like, because every episode, every situation, the answer is always the parents are doing something that they didn't know was hurting the kid and they're always tied to the way they grew up every single time, and that's not a coincidence, right? And so you might think, I'm fine, like I don't do anything crazy or bad or whatever, but it always shows up in some way. And if you can build an awareness of that, like your family will be so much healthier, and all the problems in the world are because of something going wrong with the family. And
Yeah.
so that, I think, is a really powerful ripple effect that could have if everybody had that understanding and chose to try to do something differently than the way that they any harmful like patterns that they were raised with.
That's right. And the one thing I want to say is just because you're seeking therapy doesn't mean you're disrespecting your parents or, dismissing the way that they parented you. It's
Hmm.
just a way of finding the journey,
Yeah,
finding yourself.
I'd actually seen someone on a Korean talk show talking about it. They were Korean born Americans. No, sorry, American born Korean. But they were talking about that. Is it's hard for you to go to therapy too, because if you go to therapy, you have to talk about my parents did this or that, and then it feels like you're betraying them because you are speaking badly about them or critiquing them when well, they only did all of that because they cared about me and they sacrificed so much. um and same, I felt the same way of like, it felt like blasphemy to be saying,
Mm.
well, or admitting at things out loud that she had done, then saying them out loud made me realize, oh, that actually was probably not a great thing that she did. She probably shouldn't have
Yeah.
done that. If you admit something is wrong with yourself, and then you have to reflect on why might I be like that, and it turns to having to reflect on your childhood. Inadvertently, you have to reflect on your parents, and so that thread is really difficult to follow. Of, oh no, and then it's, you want to stop. It's like, never mind, I can't go there,
Right.
and then you
Yeah.
don't get to do the healing work that you need.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. We need to separate that. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that experience too during therapy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like you can acknowledge that they hurt you and still love them.
That's right. That's right. You say you had a Asian American therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that matters when we're looking for a therapist?
Yeah, for me it does, because, and they don't necessarily have to be, none of my therapists were Korean, but it mattered that they had the ability to, one, that they had the experience of navigating two worlds or two cultures and not having to explain that aspect to somebody was important to me. Um, and also not having to say certain everything of like explaining
Yeah.
what an Asian mom is like, right? So uh, I think that's the most important part, rather than the actual ethnicity or the race. But it's like, it could also be someone who's Black or an immigrant, just some kind of identity. For me, it was always important to um, have someone who like had the lived experience of like having to balance two different cultures or two different worlds. Um, yeah.
I tend to agree with that. So for our audience, I've made so many connections with therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists
Mm-hmm.
through this podcast. So if anyone is looking for a referral to, especially for a Korean American therapist who could help you and your family, because most of them speak both
Yeah,
languages, please contact us. I will be happy to make the referral.
that's
They're all qualified,
yeah,
wonderful people.
yeah,
So yeah, please reach out.
yeah.
Last question, Haley. If you were to describe yourself as food, movie, or song, what would it be and why?
That's actually one that I prepared the answer for.
Yay!
I was thinking, I actually had to Google. I was like, what is a food that is like this? Because
Mm,
I actually came because I was like, the search term I put in was a food that looks like one thing but tastes like another thing.
uh-huh.
And I came up with, actually, the first hit was like German spaghetti ice cream. So it looks like it's a German dessert that came out a few years ago, I guess, and it looks like a
Uh-huh.
plate of spaghetti, but it's ice
Huh.
cream. I feel like that describes me, just because I think I give off one impression of myself in certain settings, and then people might assume that's like all of me. But I think there's a lot of quite unexpected aspects of myself that element of like surprise slash unexpectedness is something that I do like about myself that I explore.
Mm, that's good. I like that German spaghetti ice cream. We're gonna
Not
have
a
to
sugar
find
friend.
one.
Yeah, maybe in Germany, I think.
Thanks so much for sharing your personal story with us.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,